You can get small, insignificant things for free in other parts of the world, like university or healthcare or whatever. But in the land of the free, what things can you get for free? Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel. I am Donnie, and along with my wife Aubrey, we are two Americans currently living in Germany with our baby, sharing all of our experiences living and traveling throughout Europe. Okay, we all get it. Nothing in life is free, so you can go ahead and delete that comment you were typing to illuminate us all of this notion. But there are some things in Germany that you must physically exchange cash for that in the US, you can get without ever pulling out your cash. And no, that's not a statement about Germany's reluctantness to non-cash payments, but now we're from Oklahoma and now live in Rhineland-Pfalz, so some of these things may actually be different where you live in the US or Germany. So let us know what these things are like where you live, but what things now do we add into our cost of living in Germany that we used to not include on our budget in the US? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today in my video. How much are those kostenlos? Let's go ahead and knock out the two biggest free things in the US that aren't free in Germany that everybody is well versed in, but even after 3 years in Germany still is mildly upsetting, and that is the lack of free drink refills and free water at restaurants like we can get in the US. Now, we've talked about these two things 100 times on our channel, so I'm moving on from those because you and I have beat these to death in the comments on other videos, so there, those are done. But besides not having free water in restaurants, one thing that the US has that Germany doesn't have are free water drinking fountains like we have in the US. Well, okay, let me clarify this a little bit by saying that drinking fountains do exist in Germany, but only 1,300 in the entire country. With Germany being 357,588 square kilometers, that's only one water fountain for every 275 square kilometers. That's compared to the US, where there are more water fountains than there are adult males. That's actually a fact that I made up to try and get across how prevalent water fountains are everywhere in the US. But when we think about the times that I've walked around German cities and not come across a single water fountain, my throat starts to get a little dry just thinking about it. So actually, with increasing heat waves in both number of them and temperature, the German government has identified this as an issue though, and in August of this year, the German federal cabinet signed off a draft amendment to the Water Resources Act that would make the provision of tap water via public fountains part of the standard water supply for which public authorities are responsible. Now, the German government only wants to increase the number of water fountains reportedly by about 1,000 and spread that over the next few years. So as an American who is used to water fountains being a staple part of society everywhere you go and in nearly every type of building you go into, that doesn't seem like much. But when we have talked about the free water in the US before, one thing we always get comments about is why would they want water fountains when they know they can safely drink some of the purest water in the world from any bathroom sink in Germany anyways? And this is where we then cross a cultural impasse where I, as an American used to water fountains, says, that's disgusting. Why would you drink water from a room where fecal matters are floating in the air and people wipe their rear ends, then touch the sink you're drinking from? And I know that Germans then say, well, water fountains are gross, so why would you want to hover your mouth over spewing water where other people have had their mouths over and dripped all over the faucet? And I guess all I can say is, we both have formed our own cultures where we have picked our different poisons at this point. So yeah, we've all heard about the extreme cost of universities in the US, and one thing that we hear a lot about is free university in Germany. Because of this difference, it is surprising to me when I learned that public libraries aren't free in Germany, but they are in the US. Now, if you want to know someone who is an avid user of public libraries, it is Aubrey. Still today, she digitally rents books from our public library back in Oklahoma and reads them on a tablet because it is completely free for her to use. For an American public library, you can just show up to a library in the town you live in, show them some sort of identification or proof that you live in that town, and you are simply issued a public library card. This, of course, will give you access to all of the books, books, computers, internet, and since I personally haven't stepped foot in a library in a few years, I looked up all what else you can gain access to, and I was surprised to learn in the local area we come from, some of the libraries also have maker studios with filming equipment and 3D printers that you can use for free. There are a lot of other services and benefits through public libraries, but the point is you don't pay directly for it. Now, of course, we've established nothing in life is free. Somebody has to pay for all of this, so who does? Well, this depends on where the library is because funding is different across the US. However, basically funding comes down to some federal and state funding, library fines for overdue checkouts, for example, local taxes, etc. But the greatest funding typically comes from local municipalities or sometimes can also be from private donations. But yeah, I was surprised to learn that most public libraries in Germany actually have a subscription fee you must pay to be able to use it. Now, I say most because, for example, our small town has a very small public library that does operate similarly to what I would be used to in the US for free, but for a city library, you'll typically have to pay. For example, I just looked up randomly Hamburg's public library and saw that if I wanted to become a member, it would cost me a minimum of 40 euros per year. In Frankfurt, it would be 20 euros per year, and you can get a half-off discount for partners living in the same address, and Munich would also be 20 euros per year, or I could just do a quarter of a year if I wanted to only pay 7 euros. There is one exception to these prices, and that is that from all of the public libraries that I looked up in Germany, children up to 18 are able to use the public libraries for free. And also, just like I found in the US, some German libraries have similar maker spaces with 3D printers, filming equipment, and some other libraries of things with items like kitchen appliances or car seats, for example. Now, I also found that these libraries don't use these fees as their only funding, of course. Similarly, in the US, funding for these libraries are also mostly from the local authorities and communities. But I would really like to know, how many of you, like Aubrey, use public libraries somewhat regularly? So let's talk about the elephant in the room. My shirt. Yes, maybe some of you guys have noticed that we now have some merch. In the description, I have links to our brand new merch shop where you can pick up some Passport 2 gear. Honestly, what I personally love about what I have available so far is that our logo isn't obviously just some YouTube channel's logo, because all of our stuff has our, what I like to call, passports and peace logo. So for those that love our channel or just love traveling and spreading peace and love, we got the stuff for you. Now, let's get back to some free stuff. One of the best things about the US is food being free. Well, samples of food. Okay, I need to explain this a little bit better because you can also get free food samples in Germany, but not regularly in the mass quantities like you can in the US. So there are these big box stores in the US called Sam's Club and Costco. I've never been to Metro in Germany, but these stores are apparently similar to Metro in that you have to have a membership and you buy things in large mass quantities. However, basically, if you go to Sam's or Costco in the US, one thing they are famous for is free samples of foods all throughout the store. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that I used to have coworkers who would go on their lunch break to these stores and would eat their way through the free samples for lunch as an obviously cheap alternative. In fact, Business Insider did an entire article highlighting Costco and Sam's Club's generous sample policy, and because people frequently brag on Twitter about heading to these stores for a free lunch, they taste tested samples from both in order to let Americans know the best place for lunch. Costco won, apparently, by the way. But I, of course, have been to stores that may have a sample here or there in Germany, but I have never seen or heard of a store in which you can literally make an entire meal out of just eating free samples. But this is one of those high important types of issues that Germans really need to be concerned about and correcting in their society, I feel like. Okay, there is one thing free in the US that is not free in Germany that we have briefly touched on in various videos, but never really dedicated any real discussion to, and that are bags at stores. So one thing we did have to get used to in Germany at the beginning of living here that we are very used to now are taking our own bags to the grocery store and bagging our groceries ourselves, because in the US, we were used to going to the grocery store and an employee of the store bagging our groceries for us in bags that the store provides for free. So yeah, we were used to in the US them asking us for our preference of paper or plastic, but either way, it was always free to us. But this actually is specific to where we are from in the US, because this actually isn't the case in the entire US. When I was in college in Texas, a group of friends and I took a road trip to the capital city of Austin, and we went to a grocery store and we were shocked and a little bit embarrassed when we put all of our items on the checkout counter only to find out that they would not give us free bags like we were used to because Austin had banned plastic and paper bags. So we had to just dump all of our things in our car where they were rolling around without the confines of some sort of bag to hold them in. A side note, by the way, is that the state of Texas Supreme Court actually ruled in 2018 that cities that ban bags can't do so. So this isn't the case in Austin anymore apparently, but if you live in Austin, let us know in the comments what the experience is like today when you go shopping. But this is the case across many states in the US as well, and you can see a trend in which more democratically run states or cities like Austin, Texas will have these sorts of bans, or they will charge you for every bag you use to encourage the use of reusable bags for environmental reasons, just like in Germany. And on the other hand, generally the more Republican-run states and cities will still have free bags, and because we are from one of those states, that was always our experience growing up. So there definitely was an adjustment period once we moved to Germany where stores will have bags, but you generally will have to pay a few cents for each one. Therefore, just like Germans, we now always have our reusable bag with us just in case we pop into a store and want to buy something. One thing I do want to point out though, one part of the adjustment period is actually getting used to buying tons of trash bags in Germany as well because of this. Now, I'm not going to claim that in Germany you must pay for trash bags, but in the US, trash bags are free, but also in a way, it kind of is that way because for many Americans in places where bags are free, the free bags don't just get immediately thrown away after their single use. Generally, people will store those bags and then those are used as trash bags in small trash cans, say in bathrooms or offices, for example. So yeah, again, I guess I can go ahead and say that trash bags are also free in the US, but not in Germany. I've actually talked about this next one in another video, but another big difference that I have found is the availability of free tennis courts in Germany, or actually lack of availability. A really common thing that you will find around American neighborhoods and parks are free tennis courts for the community. They are not part of any club, organization, or league exclusively, but are built by the community for the community. If anybody ever wants to go and play, they just have to show up and see if a court is available. Leagues will often also utilize these courts as a free place to organize and play, but it is a huge perk that you don't have to pay any fees for. In Germany, however, I've personally never come across a free tennis court, but rather they seem to always be connected to a tennis club. I personally have never paid for a tennis court in Germany, but only because I was playing with friends who were members of clubs and paid the fees as a member. I do think that a lot of these you don't only have to be a member and you could pay to reserve a court if you randomly just wanted to play. But again, I personally haven't done that, so I don't really know exactly. I think in some ways I get it though. Tennis does seem kind of like a random sport for the community to pay for and maintain a court, but I also really like having it as a way to encourage the community to get out and get active rather than there being a monetary barrier for them to try the sport. Of course, you do still have to pay for a racket and balls though, I guess. To see who made it this far into the video, the random question of the week is German Schlager or American country music? Which would you rather listen to? Thanks so much for watching, guys. Be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and I will see you in our next video. And Germans often also comment, why would they encourage the use of reusable bags for our environment? But this is actually the case across many states in the US as well, and you can see the trend is